Hi everyone. So this is an update on our BACnet Edge for Node Red. I'm going to do this in a two-part today. So I'm going to just use the first part to sort of go back through the basics of getting the device stood up and connected. And in the second part, I'm going to go through a lot of the updates that we've done to the node to make it more usable and more deployable, and a lot of the cool features that we've just released in the latest release, along with the UI refresh. So starting from blank, obviously, if you haven't got our BACnet connector installed, go over here, go to Manage Palette, Install, and just type in Bitpool, and you'll see here our Bitpool OS Edge BACnet. Once you've installed that, I do recommend giving the device a reboot. I've got a little execute function here with an inject node connected to that with a simple command, which is just reboot, and give that an inject, and away you go. Now I'm running on a Docker container here. If you've got this running on a Windows machine or even a Linux base, it might take a little bit more time to come back up, but you can see there I'm back up. So the next step, come down to Bitpool BACnet and drag out a gateway straight away. We'll deploy this. Now the reason that you have to deploy this is so this connector can find the adapters. So we'll give that a deploy. And you can see here, the first thing I'm going to do is go in and drop my network interface down and select the right adapter. Now, obviously, I know this site, so I know the subnet range, and we want to set up our broadcast address. So I'm going to set up the broadcast address here, the local device port, and your device ID. Now, because I do know that this site's a large site, I'm going to actually just go between 600 and 700 for my device ID range. If I had multiple different ranges I wanted to scan, I can actually add more and more of these in as I want to go along, but I'm just going to keep the one for the moment. Now, the next thing that you want to do is go into the Discovery tab, and really you don't need to change a lot here. When you're doing the initial deployment, you want to leave the discovery for the devices on at around 15 minutes and the object discovery on at 15 minutes. Once the site's built out and everything's there, I'd usually change these back to probably once every 24 hours that you want to do a discovery and an object discovery. Now, as you'll see later on when we get into the different parts of the node, everything is automated, so it's going to discover everything automatically. And that's why often I'd recommend that you soften those settings once you've got it deployed. The really key thing here is to enable this cache file. The cache file enables this node to store a file system of all of the BACnet devices and objects locally on the machine. And this will help later on when you're opening up the navigation tree or you're resetting the device. It actually populates that from the file instead of doing another discovery. You can actually have log found BACnet device, so it'll push out into the console, or log any BACnet errors once again out into the debug console. But I'm going to leave that off for now. BACnet server will be enabled by default, and this is so other devices on the network can see your device. You can disable that, and I will go into some of the stuff around BACnet server a little bit later on. Once we've done that, what I'm going to next do is bring out a read node. So I will bring out a read node here, connect that up. And I'm also going to bring out two of these Bitpool inject nodes. And the first node I'm going to set up as discovery. And this is so we can manually force a discovery. So we had those timers in the gateway object, but if we want to force it to do a discovery, we can actually link up these inject nodes and we'll set the inject type to discover. Now that discover node goes directly into the gateway. And then we're going to set up this inject node as poll, and this will be used later on. So once we actually have objects in our read list, this is what will actually tell the read to poll the gateway and obviously get BACnet data back on the output. I'm going to set this up as a simple payload and want individual messages. These are the different payload types, and if you go onto the GitHub, you'll see all of those different payload types. Simple is just basically the present value. Simple with status, we actually introduced in the latest update the BACnet status, like the actual status of the point that you're polling. And that status is determined by any errors that come back when we actually poll the object. So if there are any errors coming back, you'll actually get an alarm status or a normal status from that point. And then you also have the full object, and the full object gives you things like the object ID, the property type, the description, the units. It's essentially the full object, as it says. When we get over here into message type, block per device, essentially that just gives you, when you poll, if you had 10 points up for the device, it'll give you the device with all 10 points in the one payload. I'm going to go with individual messages. So what it's going to do is give me an individual topic and payload for each point that I poll. And then individual JSON is just that in a JSON format with a UTC timestamp in there as well. So once we've got that there, we'll connect that up to the read node. And I will put a debug node on here so we can have a look at anything that's coming out of there. And then I'm going to hit deploy. Now, once I've deployed, personally, once again, I like to reboot the device. I'm going to give it a quick reboot here and refresh. And what that's going to do now is go out and start discovering devices. Hi, everyone. So welcome back to part two. At the end of part one, we'd gotten the device set up and ready to start discovering BACnet devices on the network and objects within those devices. And you would remember setting up our discovery settings here. So our device discovery frequency of 15 minutes. We have an object discovery frequency of 15 minutes, and we have our cache file enabled. So what that means is that this device has been going out and looking for new BACnet devices every 15 minutes and updating or discovering new objects within those devices every 15 minutes also. If we go over to our read list now, we'll see over here, this is now our complete device list for the network. We've got 27 devices, they're built out at 100%. We have our refresh tree button here. The refresh tree button allows us to refresh everything within this view on demand. We also have our add all devices button. So we can actually add all of the devices within the BACnet network straight into the read list. So the difference between the device list and the read list is the read list is what we're actually going to poll. The device list is everything that's available within the network. So if I wanted to, I could actually just add all of the devices straight away to the read list and be done and dusted in about 15 minutes. But we're going to keep going through the demo. Rebuild, so this spanner is to rebuild the data model. So essentially everything that's been discovered and put into that cache file, if I wanted to, I could actually send this command that would clear out the cache file and then rebuild, so essentially re-add all of the devices and the objects again. Underneath here, you can see here's my device and my points. We have a nice right-click menu. So on the right-click menu, you can purge the device. So we can delete the device from the device list. We can update all of the points. So if I wanted to, I could send this command to go out and make sure that all of the points have the latest values for all their properties within those points. I could add all of the points for the device into the read list. I could also remove all the points from the read list. And I can also set the display name. So I can set the display name of this device. And I also get that same functionality at the point level. If I wanted to change the name of the point, I could actually change the name of the point. So what this gives us the ability to do is if we've actually got like a poorly named system or there's some sort of different naming convention for this facility that we want to apply, we can actually change the names in this device model. Now that does not get pushed down into the BACnet device itself. So the underlying BACnet device still retains all of its same names for both the device and the points. It's only in our device model up in Node-RED that gets affected. And that's back again, that's what that rebuild device model does, is if I changed all of the names within everything in here and I wasn't happy, I could actually just rebuild the entire device data model again. It will go back out and get all of the original names from the field devices. So I'm going to now go into the next part of the demo. And obviously, if you had a large facility where you had, 1,000 devices and 30,000 points, going through and right click on every single name is going to be quite time consuming. So we've given you the ability to actually export that entire device list, or this entire read list, I should say, as a JSON file. So what I'm going to do is export this now over to here. We'll open this up. And, we'll quickly format this. And this is what that JSON file looks like. Now, what I can do in here is I could actually run a whole heap of Python script over this. If I had some sort of CSV file with set naming conventions, I could actually run Python scripts over all of this. Or I could just go through the entire file and do more find and replace. Literally find and replace all of the names that I wanted to update, save the file, and then re-import that file back in to our node. So if I come back over here, once again, I can come back in, and import that saved file with all of its changes. Those changes will then take to both the read list and the device list. It's a really nice way to go through and cleanse all of the names within the facility, and actually align it with some sort of naming convention in a programmatic way. Over here on our properties side of the tab, we have our default. So this is all of the default polling parameters for the read node, so our object properties and the message type. Down the bottom here, you'll see we've actually added this facility to give you a really nice points list for the facility. So I've just exported the entire points list based on our device list. And you can see here, right up the top, I've got my device name over here, and my point name, and all of the points for everything that's in the device list. So this is a really nice way to actually get a full points list out of your site, nice and quick and easy. So we'll close that down now. So for the first part of the demo, I'm just going to leave this entire device in here and show you a handful of the different payload types that we have. We have simple with status, and the full object. I'm going to start with the full object, and I'm going to give a block per device. So essentially what's going to happen is it's going to go out and get all of the object properties for everything for the device and the points, and bundle that into one block message per device. And you can see here, everything to that payload. So you can see at the top line there, we've got our device, and then under here is our point. Underneath that, we've obviously got our object ID and then our device. So the IP address, is it an MSTP device? It's device ID, vendor ID, and then the device name, and then all of the point properties as well. So we have our present value, our units, the object name, the display name, the description, timestamp, and its status. And the status is really important. So what we've brought in this latest release is the physical status of the point. That's based on any BACnet errors that we get back when we're polling the point. So we have an online offline status. That'll get developed further in future releases, where we probably bring through actually the BACnet error code in the message as well. But for now, we're giving you this online offline status, and it's specifically based on the point itself. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to remove that full device from the list, and we'll just deploy that out there. And we're just going to add one single point to the list, and I'll show you the remaining payloads. So now we just have our one point, and we'll deploy that out. And we now have our simple individual messages, and this will literally just be the value. So it's just topic and value. So you can see there the qualified name. So we actually have the device name / the point name, and then our value. And we can also go to simple with status. And you can see there that payload. So they're the different payload types that we have within our read node. What I'm going to show you now is, to finish up, is our BACnet server. So we brought in a number of releases ago BACnet server capability. This has obviously had a lot of updates too. You now have the ability to create objects within the BACnet server from other third-party BACnet devices. So if you had something like a Tritium AWS connector and you wanted to create objects within this device and write to those objects, you can. The other really nice thing with this is we obviously give you the ability to convert anything within the Node-RED ecosystem to BACnet objects. So if you wanted to convert a REST API, or you wanted to get other protocol data like SNMP or OPC through and convert that to BACnet, you can using the BACnet server. So I'm going to just demo that quickly. Over here, I'm going to create an object, and what this works to, let's do it outside. Yeah, temperature. And I'll give it the same name. It's going to be a value. You can picture some of the use cases with this. If you wanted to use like a third-party weather API and convert that to BACnet, it'd be a really nice way to do that. So you can see there, we actually automatically detect the type as well. So we obviously support Boolean, numeric, string values. And it's automatically going to detect the payload type and create the right object within BACnet for that. It's going to automatically create all of these server objects. So if you were parsing that through from an API, you would have some sort of function block in between and you'd be pulling it apart. As long as you send a topic and a value, it will create that. So I'll just create a quick string point as well. I'm just using these inject points for the purpose of the demo. Um, let's just go here. And this is a really nice way to get third-party data back into your building automation system. So you can see there, there's a string demo as well. If I want to, I can actually delete these points. So you'll see when you go to delete, it will come up and say, hey, this is a irreversible action. So yes, I'm going to delete. This is a really nice way to get some of this other third-party data back into your building automation system, whether it's from, like I said, third-party REST API, it could be some sort of optimization service in the cloud. Bringing that back in and serving that up out of this device for building automation systems to use is also a great use case for this connector. So I hope this demo has been helpful. I will look to do other demos. Like I said, I'll do a demo on a REST API conversion to BACnet. I think that will be a good use case for this, and we'll keep creating these demos as we release more and more features. We do have BACnet SC also on the roadmap as well, so that's going to be a great feature that gets released in the short term. But I hope you've really enjoyed the demo, and I look forward to doing more. Thanks.